flower earrings. I had a comment on an old video of mine requesting how I made these. So I'm just going to give a quick little tutorial on how I made these. Now these earrings are inspired by another pair of earrings, well not a pair of earrings, another design I learned to do, and that was this star pendant. As you can see from the front and the back, there is a star design on the wire wrapping, and it's this design that inspired these earrings. This design was intended to be a pendant. However, if you wanted to, you could put an earring hook at the top here and just wear them as a pair of earrings. These earrings I made specifically to hold this charm, and so the pattern is slightly different than what is made here. There is no star wire wrap design on these earrings. So I will show you both how I made this and the variation I used to create these. For these earrings, I used a peach colored glass rondelle beads, and the wire is just your basic gold wire, copper wire, gold colored copper wire, and a 26 gauge. I'm a bit, I overcompensate a bit with my wire, so you would need at least 12 to 18 inches. I usually just measure out an arm's length of wire, just to make sure I have enough. I'm using this particular gauge because it is what would fit the white pearl there in the center of those beads. These beads could take a stronger wire. Depending on the beads you use, you can change your gauge of wire. You will also need some wire snips or cutters and round nose pliers. If you have a mandrel or a marker or whatever you would use to make a bail, that would be helpful as well. So to begin, I'm just going to string on these beads. You would need 6 of these to make the flower petal portion. So I'm just going to string these on to about just shy of midway the length of the wire. So at this point, what we're going to do, we're going to bring the two ends together. You'll have a shorter end and you'll have a longer end of the wire. So our goal right now is just to bring them together, and we're going to form somewhat of a circle, bringing these two ends together, because you want to bring the beads together to make that flower petal look. So at this point, I would just wrap the shorter end around the longer end. And again, the goal here is just to kind of make a slight circle. It won't be a perfect circle. It's not going to be perfectly round, which is fine. And wrapping the shorter end around just kind of helps secures the shape. So whenever you feel you have a pretty solid shape there, and it's okay that they are a little loose because you are going to be wrapping the wire in between the beads. So at this point now, we're going to be working with the longer end of the wire. So we're not making the star pattern here. This is just to make the flower pattern here. So what I do is I take the longer end and wrap it around 2 of the beads in the front, and then I flip it over and wrap it around the bottom too. And then flip it over again, and now we're up the top. And this is very similar to how you would make the star pattern if that's what you were aiming for. Because these earrings have the charm at the bottom, you want to have that little loop there, that space right there to attach your jump ring. And so I just continue to wrap around every 2 beads, and you would go around this a few times just to secure it. And depending on the gauge of wire you're using, it'll show up a little more, and so you may not need to go around as many rotations. But because this is thin wire, I wanted to go around as many times as I could to make it somewhat secure. And once you feel it is wrapped as many times as you like, in order to have the centerpiece there, I take the remaining wire that I was using to wrap and I just bring it inside the center there and just pull it through the front. And that does hold there. It does secure it a little bit. It's almost like knotting it. And that piece, we just leave it alone for now. At the top here, this shorter piece is what we would use to make the bail. Again, if you have a mandrel or a bail making tool, you could use that. I'm just going to use some round nose pliers that I have. And if these are going to become earrings, you don't need it to have a huge bail at the top. Once it's been looped about 3 times, at that point, I'm just going to take the remaining wire and wrap it around to secure the bail. Now, I tend to be a very sloppy or organic or freeform, whichever way you want to say it, but that's how I wire wrap. I'm not trying to make it perfect. I think perfect is beautiful. I also think a rather freeform organic wrap is appropriate as well. And so we're just going to wrap that until it's as secure as we would want it to be. Once you get to the end of that wire, you can then snip off the excess wire, or you could actually just wrap it around until you're done and then kind of just squeeze it and squish it down in there just to help secure it a bit more and to avoid any sharp edges. Now we're going to back to this piece that we had in the center, and this is the piece that is going to hold our pearl, and so we just string that on. And then it would sit right there in the center. At this point, I cut just a smidge. I cut the majority of this actually. And just curl it. Just add a little curl with your round nose pliers. You could use your fingers if you wanted to, if you can, or whatever you have. And I just curl that around there. just to make a little curly Q right there in the center. It's no sharp edges, and if it seems like it's still too much, then just snip off whatever you think is extra. And in order to secure it, you can always add I would add a touch of glue to that, and also a touch of glue just to secure that a little bit more to the earring. And so at that point, this is actually done. Again, it's not perfect because I'm just showing this for demonstration. At this point, if you wanted to add a charm at the bottom, you have your space right there. You have that little wide piece of wire that's stringing through the holes of the beads, and that's where you can attach your jump ring to, if you wanted to add a charm to it. And a jump ring would just slip right on there. And any charm you would want to add to it, you can then add it to there. Close it up. I'm going to use my hands to close. So you would close it up. And now you have the jump ring attached to the bottom. So whatever size would be appropriate for the size beads you're wearing, using, and the size of the charm that you would attach. And so that's how I made that there. There is no distinct pattern. They are simply wrapped. The wire is just wrapped around the beads. Now to make this star pattern, if you wanted this to be without looking like a flower, and you just wanted to have a small pendant or a small charm, or if you wanted the earrings to just be that, you're going to take about the same length of wire. And for this particular pattern, I'm using these freshwater pearls. They're a little larger, but the hole is still very small. So I'm using the same gauge of wire. And we're just going to string these on. You could use any size beads you like, and whatever size wire you would need to accommodate those beads. So we're going to string them on just the same way, just shy of halfway down the length of the wire, and the same, pretty much using the same technique. And we're just going to make that circle. And it's a little easier when the beads are a little more rounded. But at this point, you still have the shorter end of wire and you have a longer end. And we're going to wrap it around just to secure this shape. And you wrap it around as many times as you feel comfortable that it is secure. It's not going to be neat. So again, leaving a shorter piece to the side, we're going to work with the longer end. And we're going to take it down, and we're really just going to wrap around every 2 beads. So if we go down 2, sort of from the top, we flip it over, and we're going to wrap 2 on the bottom. We'll flip it over, and you wrap the other 2 at the top. Flip it over, we're going to go down, flip it over, and we're up top again. And you can see it's starting to take shape. We're going to continue going this way, down, into the top. So whatever you do in the front, you're going to do it when you flip it over to the back. So you're at the top, and then you'll see you have the star design to the front and the back. At this point, you want to take that shorter end, and if you're feeling fancy, go ahead and make some fancy curls and spirals or whatever else you may want to do. I'm simple and I'm just going to wrap it around here until, just to secure it in place. And if it's more than what you really need to use, then you can always snip it off. Or you can bring it up with that shorter piece and use it as part of your veil. And then you just wrap it around to secure it. As many times as you feel necessary to make it sturdy. Again, I'm not a very neat wire wrapper. I tend to just go free form a lot because I do appreciate the organic look. And you wrap it as much or as little as you feel is necessary for the look of your piece. When you're ready, you snip off the excess. And then you smush the ends down. As long as you have no sharp edges, you can consider this done. So this can be worn as an earring. You would just put an earring hook at the top and you can wear it as an earring just like that. Or it could be a pendant or a bracelet charm, depending again on the size of the beads you use and your desired preference. So I hope you found this all interesting. Leave a comment down below if this has helped at all. Let me know if you have any questions. And I will see you on the next video. Thanks again for watching.